So you know we had to do it eventually. I'm sitting here waiting for the 2025 82nd Golden Globes Awards because I, as a big movie buff for this year, am very eagerly anticipating to see Demi Moore go out there and take Best Actress for The Substance. But anyways, let's go out there and talk about the big rumor that was posted yesterday on Sportsnet's Saturday Headlines broadcast. This was Elliotte Friedman doing his thing, having his segment on the show, and long story short, he had some very intriguing things to say about the Vancouver Canucks. Now, instead of diving into the actual video clip itself, because copyrighted Sportsnet material doesn't really fly well when you post it on YouTube, let's just go out there and read some tweets because we had a bunch of discourse on Canucks Twitter based off of Elliotte Friedman's updates. Starting out with this tweet by Brendan Batchelor. It's a quote. "The Canucks are definitely looking at the market for both players, and you should be prepared for all outcomes. There's really three of them. 1, neither gets dealt. 2, one of them gets dealt. Or 3, both get dealt," says Elliotte Friedman on the Miller and Pettersson situation. Another tweet here from Buck Foston says, according to Elliotte Friedman, as part of a package back for either Miller or Pettersson, the Canucks are prioritizing a center over a D-man. And then you had yourselves Jason Bruff go out there and say the same thing. Oh yeah, so it's gotten to that point, eh? And this is what I'm thinking about when I see the rumors about Vancouver targeting some sort of a center for a Pettersson-Miller trade. I think about what Jannik Hansen said on Sportsnet 650 earlier on Friday before the Nashville game, where he had spoken about the Canucks and the talent profile that they have. Obviously, there is a desire to trade for a defenseman or maybe add or whatever, but if you add, let's say, the best gosh darn defenseman in the world. Oh wait, never mind, Quinn Hughes is already on the Vancouver Canucks. If you add a top 4 D-man, you add a top 6 complementary winger, you add somebody to bolster up this team, it doesn't matter who you add, because Pettersson and Miller are both not playing their best. What happens when the line drivers don't play their best? Well, the guys who are more complementary pieces start to falter off as well. You don't see much out of Brock Besser. You don't see much out of Jake DeBrusk. You don't see much out of Pius Suter or Nils Höglander. The guys who drive the bus, Pettersson and Miller, they have to be the ones to get this team back onto their high horse, because it doesn't matter who you add. You can't succeed if you're a team that has only a whole bunch of complementary pieces and no top-tier bus drivers. Jannik Hansen made that point on 650 earlier last week, and essentially it was like, you can add realistically all the top 4 options that you want, but if your team is just not getting the support from the very top, then you're not going to go far. And so when you think about the idea of trading one of Miller or Pettersson or both, it's interesting because if you think about the Canucks getting a center in exchange, obviously you would need to get a top tier center. Like, you're not trading Miller for, I don't know, some bum and another few draft picks or something. If the Vancouver Canucks goal, which has been made very clear, their goal is to be competitive right now, trading away Miller for a draft pick is not going to fly. They're going to have to get some assets back. Ultimately, what this says to me is that they feel at some point that they might not be able to rely on Miller and or Pettersson to be those top tier bus driving guys. If the Canucks are thinking about Pettersson's playoff last year, they're like, yeah, that guy kind of disappeared. He wasn't really playing all too well. And they tried to get him going, but they couldn't. It's not really something we can project into the future. If they're looking at Miller and the inconsistencies, sure, Miller had a good playoff last year. He did well in the Nashville series. He had points and everything. But if Miller's lackadaisical, lazy attitude and his kind of stern demeanor in the locker room ends up affecting the rest of the team in ways that we have already seen throughout his tenure here, then maybe it's not really worth it to consider him as the long-term bus driver either, especially because he's a little bit older and he's on this contract and all the drama surrounding him. So if they trade one of them, then okay. It's like they believe in the other guy, they want to keep the other guy, they're committing to the other guy, and they're giving that other guy the go-ahead to do what it is they need to do. If they trade none of them, it's ultimately, hey, we need to make sure you guys figure this out on your own. We're going to make all these comments into the media, we're going to call out Petey, we're going to let this JT stuff leak, and then we're going to let this become the narrative so it gets you guys lit up under your behinds and you start playing better. Or if the Canucks trade both, then it's like, okay, sorry, we're just going to completely revitalize this center position. We want other guys whom we can rely upon more and who are better teammates and guys that can work with Quinn Hughes to bolster up this team once more. I get the entire sentiment that's been going around Canucks Twitter, especially, that says that because Elias Pettersson is so young and because he has been so productive in the past, it would be foolish to trade him. It would be like the Jack Eichel trade all over again. And honestly, I would be more inclined to agree than disagree with that sentiment, mostly because Pettersson, as we had seen 2 seasons ago, he can be a 100-point playing superstar. He can be a play driver. He can be a puck-finagling, puck-sniping trickster of a Pavel Datsyuk-esque two-way player who can do really great things on and off the puck. And he's so young that you don't want to give up on this kind of a guy, but if the Canucks have already made that decision, if they're already saying, yeah, we can't really rely on him into the playoffs the next little while here, let's trade him for a guy who can help us, plus another defenseman or something, maybe a center and a bottom pair D-man or something like that. If they're able to get that kind of a trade return, then okay, maybe they make the shakeup. Who really knows? We had already discussed this in a video yesterday, but I like the idea of Noah Dobson coming over to Vancouver, even if it's for an Elias Pettersson-like asset. If you're able to get some middle six forward support and Noah Dobson, of all people, then I would love that. Quinn Hughes and Dobson would be an amazing pairing, the best gosh darn pairing in the entire National Hockey League. Trading Miller away, though, I'm honestly not too sure what that situation would entail, because it only seems like New York, the Rangers that is, not the Islanders, would be an appropriate, realistic destination, and I honestly am not too sure what kind of a return Miller could fetch that would actually help out Vancouver. Oh, you talk about JT Miller for Mika Zibanejad. I have less faith in Zibanejad this year than I have had faith in many other NHL bums. Like, you talk about the Jeremy Swaymans, you talk about the other guys who are underperforming throughout the league, none other than Mika Zibanejad have been as disappointing. So honestly, I'm not on board with that idea. That's just me personally. If you have any other comments that you wanted to spread out there, like, oh, these guys are actually not that bad, and here's why, then okay, be my guest to let me know in the comments why you would make a trade for Mika Zibanejad, for example. But for me personally, I think when it comes to the Pettersson-Miller trade ideas, out of all the ones that we've heard about, I honestly only really think the Dobson one is worth thinking about. It's just for Friedman to go out there and speak about this yesterday that, hey, the Canucks might be considering trading both Pettersson and Miller. That makes things entirely different. So, thoughts in the comment section below about the Vancouver Canucks and this big, bad trade update from Friedman. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.